Okay, guys. All right, we'll principally take questions because we just got one player to talk about. We'll have more to talk about as we move through the next two nights. We picked the 16th player on our board with the 24th pick. We call it a good night. We got a player that we thought had as much upside as anybody that was on the board. And we were very, very sensitive about the fact that we were adding depth and adding real, we think, insurance due to the fact that our makeup of our offensive line and our starters, we have to take into consideration availability of our starters. We think we got a player here that not only has the ability to be a starter, but has position flex. And so we were very fortunate with the 24th pick to get the 16th player in the draft. So I'll start that off with that, and then questions. Stephen, you got one statement before they ask questions?
No, I'll just take questions.
Okay, good. And Coach will talk to you about how he fits in with the team.
You guys got 16 players, so you're not considering moving up at all because a lot of activity earlier. I don't know if you guys got NC at all with so many trades today. Did y'all even consider moving up?
We didn't have a player that we thought would, as it turns out, where they were taken, that was worth what we estimated would be what we'd have to pay to get up if you had to pay. So we didn't spend a lot of time. If somebody got closer to us and were dropping, then we certainly might consider that maneuvering up and down, and that's the way the board fell in there today. We had 3 trades right at the buzzer. On the last 3 picks, we had 3 calls. Stephen will have that exactly, but we had 3 calls and entertained trading on at least 2 or maybe 3 of the last 3 picks.
Trade back.
Trade,
back.
yeah.
Can Smith play guard? Is that we talk about position flex? The guy who can come in and compete at guard.
Yeah, Tyler will come in and he will have position flex and really be a left side player. So have an opportunity to rep both at the left guard and the left tackle position. That's where we'll start him. Real excited about what he brings, as far as his play style, and I think he's a really good fit for our offensive line room. Excited about what's in front of him. But yes, he'll have an opportunity for reps at both left guard and left tackle.
Mike, in Green Bay, you took T.J. Lang and Josh Sitton. I believe they were college tackles that you moved inside. What are the traits you look for, and what does Tyler have that makes that?
Definitely. I mean, you look at the measurables, so, he definitely has the traits to play left tackle. But, those are conversations you have about all these prospects. And, particularly, I mean, personally, I've been around a number of those guys that have gone from tackle and have played inside. So, but I think Tyler clearly has the ability to play tackle. And, we're going to start him more as a left side player as far as his reps and how we view him starting out.
You also said this week that you expected to give 14 to 16 players first-round grades. When you say he was your 16th player, did you give him a first-round grade?
We knew we were going to have to take, if we were going to take, did we give him a first-round grade? We gave him a grade that we knew more than likely we would take in the first round. Now that's mealy mouth. That's mealy mouth. It is a misrepresentation to not call him a first-round player. And we knew that we were going to have to take him in the first round if we got him. And so I think that's I do think that's the correct way to do it. We have several players here that don't have first-round grades that were taken ahead of our picks, that we didn't have first-round grades on. So I think it's really fair, and we anticipated this question. But I think it's fair for us to say that we graded him as a first-round player.
Coach, are you at all concerned with some of the penalty problems that he had in college, given some of the penalty issues that this offensive line had last year?
I'm definitely aware, of his performance last year, but I definitely, they're 2 separate topics in my view. Obviously playing at Tulsa and and obviously our team last year. I really don't see any correlation to it. You know, we need to focus on penalties, and we've taken those steps already in our off-season program, you know, as far as an emphasis on the things we need to do better. I mean, particularly in the areas of fundamentals. So, you know, Tyler will be part of that, you know, part of the program when he gets here, and I don't have any concerns.
Well, when did Tyler Smith first get on your radar? Like, can you remember the first time you saw him, or when he caught your eye, or just when that was?
It was during the season, going through the process, looking at, you know, when you start talking about the things that you're looking for in the draft. You know, we're looking for good players, but when it came up, when we were looking at offensive line, we talked about him in December. You know, and you got to notice him a little bit more. And you know, number one thing is there's a big athletic, physical man that's going to play in a big athletic, physical league, and that's what we liked about him.
Was he a Dallas State guy or no?
No.
What did you guys see or get from that private workout for you to say, okay, this is a first-round grade on in this sense?
Well, you look for the traits, and then you look for the ability on tape, and he showed those. You know, he was a first-round type player, and you know, capable of competing in this league. And you know, we were excited about that, and him being local, and you know, the temperament that he plays with, and being young, and the growth and the upside and the potential. That's also important too.
Why did y'all bring him in? Did it just not equal, the schedule not work for y'all to bring him in for Dallas there for one of the 30 visits, or y'all didn't need to do that?
We didn't need to do that. We did the homework. We have enough sources, and we had spent enough time with him to be comfortable with who the kid was.
Excuse me, David. I just want to add that you know, Joe Philbin had a chance to spend the time with him, and you know, the classroom work is obviously important. You know, we felt great about what he put on video, but you know, the personal workout does give you a chance to get a closer look, and particularly spend the time, the one-on-one time. So obviously he had high marks and all that.
So Philbin's film work with him at Tulsa?
Correct.
There were a couple of defensive players on the board there, Johnson and Lloyd. Was there strong consideration given taking defense there, or was the grade just to the point where you knew you were going to go Smith?
But I will say yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, that there was strong consideration to defense there. We had, though, predetermined that he was even against defense, and I'm not going to give the specific players, but even against defense, we had determined that he was the leader in the clubhouse if we had a choice. And so we didn't have to have, when he dropped, when he was available, we didn't have to have a big discussion and debate and all of that kind of thing. We looked over, as a matter of fact, Stephen was on the phone with a trade, and it turns out that they wanted to trade right ahead of us, and turns out that the trade that was attempted was to get him. We later found that out. So we knew we were in the wheelhouse there, and so we had a very clear, it's about as clear of on the board decision that I've seen, a unanimous decision in the room, that when he came to us and we had to pick to take him, that I've been involved in.
Keaton Green and Zion Johnson.
And again, we don't have that, and I don't want to get into that, but let me put it like this. We have both of them, this was printed 3 days ago, below him. Both of those players are below him. Can you see that?
Don't show him that.
I'm not going to show him There's not any.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. No, we really did have them rated below him. No, we really did, both of them. I'm answering the question. Well, hey man, let me just say this. The other part is I'm looking.
Good news is most of those
I don't
players
see.
are gone.
I'm trying to see who's on here. I'm trying to see who's on here. There wouldn't be, but if you take out the quarterbacks, it won't be anybody on here.
Tyron's the guy
I think
that's-
the key thing the only thing I would add to this, the key thing with Smith is just his ability. We think he can be our left tackle for a long time at some point in time. Obviously, we got the best in the business now. and Tyron Smith. But at some point, his ability, we really believe he can be a really top left tackle.
Stephen, how do you balance the traits against the production? That's always a big debate, right, about the traits and production in this process. Do you value the traits even more? Because, I mean, he's built like the perfect offensive line, but the penalties, how do you balance that?
Well, I think the one thing you got to remember about him is he played 16 games. He had half a COVID year, and then he played last year. And he did play against some good competition. I'm playing against Ohio State, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati. You know, when you talk about Tulsa, you think, well, competition, level of comp. But I think there's a lot of things that, you know, our coaching staff, Mike and Coach Feldman and Blasco, will do to help him quickly. He's a very intelligent young man. I think he'll pick it right up, and he's going to have top-notch coaching and just feel very comfortable with that. In terms of the trade, I think, you know, when you're talking about a first-round pick and what we could have gotten to move down, and Jerry is right, I happen to be good friends with the team that was calling. He sent me a text right after we picked him and said, "Be glad you didn't trade with us. That was our guy." So anyway, it's, you know, I think when you're talking about your first-round pick, what you pick up, it's a good, you know, resonates that you want to be careful there. You're getting too cute in terms of moving down, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks. You got to be careful with that.
Stephen, you talked about the nasty, or y'all talked about the nastiness of him as a player and toughness. Does that evoke any memories of Eric Williams for you?
Oh, well, he's one of the nastiest that ever played through here. I mean, Lyle Collins had that to him. And certainly, you know, we miss that. You know, we're going to miss that with Lyle, but I think certainly he brings this to the table. Smith does. And, you know, that was, you know, at the top of the redeeming qualities, and one of many, but certainly that's a big part of why we liked him.
What did you learn about his mental makeup in terms of his ability to take the coaching and go from the player that he is today to the player that you guys believe he one day can be?
I think the biggest thing, I mean, I think we're all saying it, is he has a tremendous ceiling. You know, he's a young man, 20 years old, 21, you know, only played 16 games. You know, some of his mistakes, penalties, were of aggressive nature. So those are the ones you'd rather be dealing with combative things that you can learn from. So, but yeah, definitely everything, like I said, everything checked out. I know Joe was very comfortable with him.
I know the answer to this question, Coach, because I talked to you about it. Is there a position on the entire football team that you have to project any more, or that you have to develop any more from college to pros than the offensive line?
It's definitely I'd say no, them and quarterback. And I think the thing you got to recognize in this conversation Jerry and I had is in today's, you know, off-season program, everything's set up, the offensive linemen really are at a disadvantage because, you know, they really don't get the hand-to-hand combat until they get to training camp. So, you know, we talk about all those things, but he has a tremendous ceiling. We're excited about that.
But the minute you go offensive line, you've got to plan on.
Absolutely.
I don't care what level he is. He's got some projection in him from the way he played in college. It's just a real different game in the offensive line. To really effectively eliminate the kind of things that we grade an offensive line about it, one of them being mistakes and one of them being technique. So I don't care who you drafted offensive line, you got some work to do.
Stephen, the last time you all drafted a lineman in the first round, it was third one in 4 years. The line was maybe in a little bit of a transition. You're building to what you ended up with after that. And you feel like the line is kind of at that point again where it's a little bit of a transition phase and you're shifting from what you had back then to what you're looking at going forward?
I think we're doing a nice job with it. I mean, one of the things we talked about after we made the pick is, you know, I think Mike was, you know, verbalized it perfect. I mean, we look at Smith as being a left side position player, Ball as a right side position player, who obviously we have a big resource in, and we think a lot of him. And then we got Farniok in the middle. So it's, you know, 3 young guys there that we really, you know, think a lot of and think are ready to, you know, when their time comes to make that jump. And you throw Steele in that mix and Biotic in that mix. You know, it's a good group of young players. Now, obviously, you know, Zach and Tyron, you know, have been in the league a while and certainly the best in the business. But I do think, you know, we're doing a good job of getting the right pieces in place to be able to push those guys in as we move forward. Certainly Connor McGovern's a young player as well, and he's going to get an opportunity to compete this year as well. But I really like how we're transitioning, and but at the same time, I think we still have a chance to have a top offensive line in this league.
How important to that point is having the room in place when you bring in a guy like Tyler in terms of the veterans, not just the coaches, but the veterans from whom he can learn, guys like Tyler and guys like that. How critical is that for young players' development?
Mike?
It's awesome. I mean, that's what you want as a coach, and we're very fortunate to have those veteran players. And I think just as a whole, our locker room, just spending some time with the leadership council this week on a couple things that, to deal with the off-season program. This is a very, very strong locker room, especially the offensive line room.
Stephen, you were saying the other day that you thought you had as many top of the second round grades on players. It was as deep as it's been in a while. As you end this first night, is that still a pretty good cluster there for you going into tomorrow?
It's emptied out pretty good. I mean, when you only have 14 first-round picks and, there's communication around the league. I think that was pretty much down the middle in terms of what other teams felt like they had in the first round. And so when that's what you have, what's coming next are those top of the second rounders. And, they picked through us pretty good there. I mean, it was getting tight there at the end in terms of, who was going to be available to us and in terms of when we picked at 24.
What do you think of some of your competitors in your division, what they did this evening? Because they had at least 2 picks before you guys, especially Philly.
I mean, they picked some great football players. I mean, they got better. I think all 3 teams in our division all got better. So, certainly the bar's set high, and we got to go to work.
When you see defensive linemen go to your division mates, how much does that impact even within this night, the possibility of going with the offensive line?
I mean, I think it's critical. I think we've got to match that. I mean, look at what Philly did with the big tackle and Giants and, with the pass rusher. I mean, we've got to go to work there, and obviously that front's always going to be a priority for us, both sides of the line. It's critical. That's where the football game, Coach McCarthy always says it. That's when you get to playoff football, that's where you got to be strong.
Even would you say that your team got better as well, though? I mean, was this a need position and a guy that you said could come right in and start?
I don't want to put the come right in and start. I mean, we've got a good competitive situation there, but I do think we got much better, with this pick. I mean, we've got still a lot of work to do. We've got 8 draft picks left, but this one player. But certainly, we're very pleased with what we ended up with.
Tyron's missed games, and I don't think he's played a full season since 2015. Do you have to start thinking about, was now the right time to start thinking about his future and how you eventually have to replace him?
Well, he's phenomenal. He's had a great career, and we believe he's got a lot of tread left. Tyron does. But to the end that we were able to come in here with this kind of potential talent and have somebody that we think can help us this year with this pick and basically mail in, if you will, what Tyron is about, what Martin, what all of that particular stature is in the offensive line. It's a great place to be putting some talent in the middle of it, and it's a great talent to work with. And it would be a misnomer to think that if you had offensive line beside your name tonight for the Cowboys, that you didn't have a little extra attention. Because it feels good to have gotten a player of this caliber in with that team, within a team called the offensive line. It's good. This is a good move, and we're proud of it.
Jerry, Tyler referred to you as Coach Jerry on the call earlier. Should we refer to you as the same going forward?
Stop.
Thanks, guys.
All right, wrap it up. Let's go.
Coach Joe.
Yes, sir.